All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time today to join us for our 22nd episode of STEM activities at home or the classroom. So I'm going to hand it over to Josh. Take it away.
Okay, happy Wednesday, everybody out there. We too are in Wisconsin, land of many weathers. Yesterday it was 80, today it's like 45. I'm here as always with my favorite producer, Pete.
Yeah.
Pete's over there doing all the fun buttons and stuff. Oh, he's playing with all those buttons over there. So, and we'll be doing some fun activities today. But first and foremost, let's not forget we're here thanks to the good people at Nasco Education. Doo-doo. Like a little chime for that. If you need to have any questions or comments, please throw them with the chat. Jordan will get to you. If you need to email him directly, his email can be found here. Engage at nascoeducation.com. Now, if you're a social media person, like so many of us are, tweeting and twittering and whatevering, but there we go. Yeah, you can follow Nasco Education at one of these many fine links above. If you like any of the things you see today, you can also find those materials, resources, lessons, templates and whatnot through these various links. So we're talking to Jordan, and the kits and materials can be found at nascoeducation.com in a variety of formats. But thank you for everyone being here. If you have any questions or comments, type in the chat window. I actually have it right here in this one of the many screens we have around our live streaming setup. I can see your stuff pop up here, and Pete will also be answering questions as well. If somebody throws a quick little question there that I don't get to, Pete has been known to quickly jot little answers and whatnot and give links to things. So, did I miss anything, Pete, and all that wonderful talking?
Pretty good.
Yeah, I'm Josh from Brown Dog Gadgets, Pete as well.
Hello.
And yeah, so we're gonna get a move on this day because this is astronomy month. So we're doing some fun space themed things. This workshop-y thing, we're doing some fun paper circuits themed arts and crafts astronomy things. Fun but interesting. In future ones this month, we're doing some lessons on astronomy using some simple electronic STEM and STEAM materials. Just some fun mixes on things we might have seen in the past, but those are for other ones. We're doing a fun one this time because it's also Mother's Day coming up. So we kind of mixing a couple things together into one ball of goodness and all that fun jazz. So enough of my chit-chatting. We go to the overhead camera. Overhead. The grid. So we do tons of paper circuit stuff. It's one of our go-to things. We love our nylon conductive tape. It is the bee's knees. If anything with conductive tape, you've got to try the nylon conductive tape because it's so much better. It's stronger. It'll go into pretty much any surface and then come off again when you're done, like a wall or window. Say no to copper foil. It's not very good. It also works well on fabric for doing short-term wearables. The fact that it's super, super strong in comparison to copper foil means you can do a lot more complicated things like the stuff we're going to be doing today. But it's good stuff. We have it all of our paper circuits kits that NASCO carries, and we use it and its many capabilities quite heavily from all the way from simple stuff up through microbit and Arduino level projects as well. For instance, just because it's sitting in front of me, we have a really great knife switch project. If you want to have a fun afternoon and have a couple old Amazon boxes, make yourself a large cardboard knife switch because nothing says fun like a large cardboard knife switch. Tape and brass brads. But we're moving on here. So we do a lot of cards because cards kind of like the go-to paper circuits kind of thing. And we like doing a lot of different variety of things around here so that you as an educator can give a lot of different options to your students. So if you have one kid wants to do a fun squid, but another kid wants to do a flower, who cares? It's all the same learning objectives, same rubric, same materials involved, just a different template, which lets them have a little bit of that creativity and a little bit of choice in the classroom without giving them too much choice. Choice within the box. You can work within the box. It's always nice to have that nice controlled classroom setting. For instance, Pete over here, because Pete is pretty awesome, Pete made up, let me grab all these here, 3 really nice Mother's Day cards because it's Mother's Day this week. And if you need a quick Mother's Day thing as a science project, you have paper circuits materials. It's a really quick like bookend, or like, hey, you had 20 minutes in the class, like the end of a science class or after a test or an activity. It's a nice quiet activity to do. And so we've got a couple different fun ones here with Happy Mother's Day, nice, fun, royalty-free cards we put together. But also Pete always makes 2 versions of these, ones that are colored and ones that are just black and white, so that students can then color themselves their own design and whatnot.
Color themselves or the cards.
It's true. Some kids will color themselves on the cards. I have a toddler at home, so coloring himself is half the fun. So best mom. I mean, that's pretty subjective.
That's blank, so you can write whatever you want.
Oh yeah, it could be like, you are almost the best mom.
Oh.
I I mean, it's really hard. I mean, I don't have enough data points, as my wife would say, to make that decision. And then we have Happy Mummy's Day.
Yeah, mommy. Yeah.
Uh,
British. It's a British term.
For all of our many British customers and watchers today. I'm sure Gloria is calling in from Liverpool. That's clearly where she's watching from. I have names of people on Zoom now, so I can call people out by name. Emily, see you out there. But we're doing astronomy this week. So we're going to have a couple of astronomy things we can do that are kind of fun. We have a couple different formats for them because doing astronomy things with circuitry activities can be really mixed bags. Kind of like go-to is always to make a light up solar system. Pretty straightforward, very open-ended as well for students to do different degrees of light up solar system or a star field or constellation. Those are easy, simple circuits to do, but we also have to do some fun things. And we have a couple of variations on a rocket ship, which we like breaking out for camps, especially, or distance learning activities, because it's a little more difficult. I say with little air quotes here on the table, but it's a pretty simple card that we can do in a couple different formats because we're using the same template to accomplish the same thing, doing a card with a standoff or like a badge. The badge is always fun. So when kids can wear something they make, it gives a different level of ownership and pride in a project, and it's something that just they make and stick on the shelf. Wearing is always fun. But it's actually the exact same basic rocket ship design, just in two different formats. The card is probably the go-to one most people end up doing from what we've seen on downloads off our website, but you get people using this one a decent amount as well.
We have a flat card too, Josh.
We have a flat card?
Flat version, I think, of the rocket somewhere.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, there
If
is.
you want
I'm
a quicker
sorry.
one or just want a
Sorry, there's a
full
big pile over here. I forget. I mean, there's a flat version too if you don't want to do the pop-up, which is very similar, like the most simple version. If you were going to do something like this with a fourth grade classroom, this would be a really easy one to do. Kids can color their rocket ship with whatever they want, put this together, and you have a rocket ship that lights up. This would be a little more that middle school audience. It's a little bit more dexterity, arts and crafts involved. Another thing we like about paper circuits, it's very easy to level up and down, just make the paper craft activity itself more difficult. So we're going to put together this little rocket ship right away. Let me see what we got here. There we go. Okay, all the stuff I have. All right, so we're gonna put this together, and this is just nice. You cut stuff out, you color it. We're gonna do the internal circuit right here because it is a fun parallel circuit, which is actually a conversation we had with the teacher this week. Who was trying, our teacher, who said, "quote I'm not good at electronics. Help me out. I don't know what I'm doing." And we're like, "Sure, we'll help you out." She wanted to connect two LEDs in a large poster in front of her art room, and she needed to make a parallel circuit like this, two lines in parallel. But she was actually making a series circuit instead, which was not what she needed. So let me just grab two LEDs here. It is a mess. I need this. There we go. I'm doing a lot of. Yeah, I have my toolbox full of I need a safety pin here. We use heavy cardstock for all of our demo projects because they look much better on camera than standard 8.5 by 11 printer paper. And by the way, if you're doing any kind of paper crafty thing in general with circuitry and conductive tape, be it copper foil, boo, or our wonderful nylon conductive tape, maker tape, as we call it, use like 30-pound plus cardstock. 30-pound cardstock is a nice kind of middle ground. It's heavier than printer paper, but yet it's not so heavy it'll jam up your printer at school. It's a nice, it'll still work with your off the shelf brother printer. So we're using a safety pin to poke these holes right here for my LEDs, only because this is pretty heavy. I know some kids like to poke holes in their stuff with safety pins too, but with thinner paper, you can just use the legs for LEDs, but this is why I'm doing it this way, just because.
Josh, pro tip, it helps to poke them through the front because sometimes the prints don't totally line up.
Oh yeah, I couldn't remember which side I was supposed to do, so just yeah. But no matter how much you line stuff up, each printer in our office prints things off just ever so slightly. So we like 3 printers, and each one just everything's like a little off one way or the other. Even our really nice big printer we use for all of our stuff. So I'm gonna use 2 LEDs. My rocket ship does have 2 different areas on it. I've got my rocket flame off the back end, and I've got my little porthole here. I'm going to use a white LED for my porthole and a red LED for my flame, my burner.
You can bend that one over too.
Yes, actually, that's the thing too, Pete. We had done that. You bend that one. Our LEDs are diffused, so they have a nice glow to them. But you can always bend them to the side of it too to kind of help that beam go a bit more this way. Never use clear LEDs. Another pro tip, never use clear LEDs ever for paper circuits things. Clear LEDs are great for flashlights because it's a nice beam forward. It is not a good idea for things we want a nice glow, like this. So I'm actually gonna do the Pete suggested and have it bent this way.
Yeah.
LED legs are great because they do handle a lot of bending back and forth. Now,
One's longer than the other.
yes, it is. The positive one is long, the negative one is short. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bend this down. Yay. I do the same thing over here. If we weren't doing a parallel circuit, it wouldn't really matter. I keep doing this back and forth because I'm losing my mind today.
Today.
Oh, you're spot on. Now this one sticks straight up. Yay. Parallel circuits now in general, another fun thing, pro tip, because we do so many paper circuit stuff. Your standard coin cell battery, a standard CR2032 to be exact, your go-to coin cell battery for LEDs or small motors. They're great because they're inexpensive. You can find them everywhere and they're inexpensive for kids projects. That's level consumable level kind of stuff. 3 LEDs max. And even then like blue and color changing LEDs, 2, this tend to like the voltage drops on the battery as the power is used. And then there's less and less power available for those LEDs, and certain things like white, blue, and color changing need a higher voltage than say red. So the red will last much longer, but it's just that it can handle being bright at a lower amount of voltage. If you want to get the fun exact of this thing. So we're going to take our tape. I'm just going to cut myself a chunk of tape here to make life easier. But our tape does have a wax paper backing on it. So you can just give chunks of tape to your kids. Something like this is maybe a foot of tape for this activity, maybe. This is also great for distance learning activities because a little bit of goober on the end of this one. You can send a chunk of this home with kids if need be, which is great. You know, Pete, I cut my fingernails last night.
Yep.
Because I'm like, oh, my nails are long. I don't need to have long nails except when doing this. The only downside to our tape is we have the wax paper backing on here. And for some people, they have a hard time getting that wax paper backing off. Some people have no issues. I have other people, adults, who just like, I can never do it, but other people have no problem. So we're going to start here for our negative side on the bottom of here. We're just going to go down. Now our tape can bend and fold and whatnot because it's nylon. Yay. I'm going to make one long strip. Now, if you want to, you could always cut this into different chunks. It is conductive on top and bottom. So you can just overlap 2 chunks and you'll have a strong electrical connection.
Josh, can you tell people about this tape we're using?
It is our nylon conductive tape. It's our maker tape, is our trademark maker tape. We spent the money. Things I didn't learn when I took my master's in education, how to trademark things. It's a nylon conductive tape. It's extremely strong. It's great stuff. You can do a ton of different projects with it, a lot more building activities and opportunities than you can with copper foil. Again, also good on fabric, like shirts, great on windows and walls because it'll peel off when you're done because it's very strong. Another good thing about it, since conducting on top and bottom, we can make a tape loop for a battery holder. Notice I have no crazy fold over on the edge here, no crazy battery holder. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a tape loop, like a loop of tape, just like a little tape loop right here. Oh, look, Pete has a diagram up. And we're going to make a little tape loop. So it's basically a ball of stickiness and stick it down the middle on top of our line of tape. Ta-da.
But Josh, I've seen like this thing where you gotta fold the paper and put a binder clip in it.
No. So you can actually see through all of our projects we post over the years, you can tell when we finally switched to copper foil, and especially away from copper foil to nylon, especially when we realized that we could do this tape loop approach, because all of our projects only switched to doing the tape loop as opposed to having like a binder clip dog ear fold over situation, which is rough on a lot of projects like this. The one upside to having like a dog ear with a binder clip on it is that you can easily turn things on and off. But if you're going to be doing that, a paper clip and a brass fastener work really great as a switch. So I can just take my battery like so and stick it on top like so. And now I have a strong negative connection from the bottom along here. Now, to do the rest of this, I just have to run tape from the top of this guy, our battery, positive, down and across here, and I have my connection. I'm done. If you hear a slight squeaking in the background, it's because my office dog, he is outside of our studio, and he's very, very, very sad that he's not being let in today. Dogs, gotta love them. So it's gonna go like this, parallel circuit. Might have to press down a little bit on your LED contacts just to make sure there's a good connection. And there we go. I've got my 2 LEDs. Yay. Nope. There we go. I had to press down a little bit the first time. You're not gonna be good for me. Wow, now I'm embarrassed. Huh, that's weird. Well, there we go. Yay, live. So yes, with another tip, you can use copper foil tape. If you have copper foil tape around, you can totally do that. I recommend the copper foil. The biggest issue with copper foil when doing a lot of our projects is that you can't do the tape loop, and that typically off-the-shelf copper foil tape isn't conductive on the bottom. That it's adhesive, despite a lot of times companies saying it's conductive on the bottom, isn't. That's the biggest issue we run into with a lot of that tape. We used to use copper foil back in the day. We paid extra to get like conductive adhesive, and it just wasn't reliable. So typically you put the tape down first, then you put your LED leg on top of the tape, and then you put another piece of tape on top of that. Then you have a nice sandwich of conductivity. So that's kind of the approach we recommend doing if you're using copper foil with that. People have done stuff like this aluminum foil. That's a really, really, really annoying thing to do. I would not recommend trying that. Yeah, using the tape is the copper foil if you really have to. Our tape just works so much better for especially like the whole battery aspect of it. And it's just so much stronger, which makes it way easier for kids. And then after that, so getting back to this guy here, Pete's gonna share some copies of some Mother's Day templates. Where's my, oh, there's my rocket ship. So then after this, we just have to tape down using just some clear tape, tape down our rocket ship template on top. And then we have our rocket ship like this, which unfortunately with studio lights, you can't see it, but when the lights are a little dim, you get a little bit of a bleed through on here and definitely a glow around the flame. Now for something like the badge we had made up, it's kind of the exact same approach because we have the template is on the bottom piece.
Yeah.
And
there's a switch.
And there's a switch too. We have a little switch here, a little fold over switch. You can use a binder clip to turn it on and off. And then you just tape the top half on top again, this top half onto here. There you go. And you make a nice little wearable badge. Ta-da. So this is a great little project to do. It's fun. It looks interesting. Something like this you could also hang, say, from a wall if you're a kid. You make a little fun rocket ship that lights up. And doing some fun three-dimensional paper crafts gives a nice, much bigger dimension and a little bit that more difficulty aspect to a project. So yeah, especially for like middle school kids, they're a tough crowd. So there's that. Now, if you want to get like silly with science, here's another example of something you can do that we call straw wars. We have a bunch of different versions of this. You can use a clear LED. It was the one time we actually used clear LEDs in paper craft projects. You can use a clear LED and stick it inside of a straw, like just a clear 5mm LED, which is like the go-to that you can get off of Amazon or other places for stuff. We don't use those. We use big like jumbo LEDs. These are our LEDs right here that we use, the big diffuse jumbo versus the little 5mm here. But if you put it into a straw and use a little hot glue to hold the straw down, it actually has a very nice glowing effect where it lights that up. So you have like laser beam or lightsaber. And that tends to work pretty well. Yes, middle schools do like the badges. Oddly enough, middle school kids they're a weird bunch. I used to be a middle school teacher myself. They do like the paper circuit stuff because you're adding a little bit of that electricity and it's a bit of an older kid project, so to speak. Again, depends on your middle schoolers. You know, funness will vary based on your students because they're middle schoolers and they're a weird group of people. 8th graders, who knows? But the 6th, 7th graders, they always like this stuff when I did it here in Milwaukee. But the Straw Wars stuff is kind of fun too. We just have a bunch of different versions of this because, you know, there's enough Star Warsy things that light up. I think at one point we're gonna do a bunch of Star Trekky things too. But this, especially like a lightsaber, because May the 4th was yesterday. May the 4th be with you, which is a very silly event. But doing that with like straws is a really, really, really easy activity. It's a light up lightsabery thing. And you can always, we have a bunch of different templates we've done with different types of lightsabers or Darth Vader-y stuff, as much as we can get away with. So, and the circuitry stuff on this, again, is just a very simple parallel circuit with a switch that we made here. So you push together and, which you won't light up because this is an old project and we didn't replace the battery on it, but it's a simple parallel circuit just with a little gap with a, you can press together to close the gap and make it light up. The other actual astronomy thing is a fun one that our curriculum writer Andy put together, which is a fun Valentine's Day card. If you want to get another kind of Mother's Day-esque thing to do with astronomy, I love you to the moon and back, because Andy's very sentimental. But it's the exact same kind of approach where we have a cutout down here of the moon. I have a couple tabs here. You can cut your own out of other paper that just do a little standoff above here, and your LED goes underneath that, so it lights it up as a light up moon. So it's a good Mother's Day / astronomy thing. But these kind of fun astronomy-esque things, they're fun. You can also then lead into doing, say, making your own constellations out of parallel circuits with LEDs is a very easy thing to do for a light up, especially a bulletin board in your classroom. Having a light up constellation up on the wall looks really cool. As a teacher, probably is going to take you 10 minutes to put together by running 2 parallel lines of tape and a bunch of white LEDs together. It's what I like about this. It's inexpensive for a bulletin board for your students or for you to have, and it has like pizzazz for very little teacher effort. And I know time is always a valuable thing for an educator. And that's a nice way of doing things. Although I would recommend using like a 2 AA battery holder to power a bunch of LEDs. Those are very easy. 2 AA or 2 AAA battery holder. They'll last for weeks off a couple of AA's. It's a very easy way to turn on and off a bunch of, say, white LEDs, and always use diffused. But one additional thing too. So our LEDs, somebody at you who might be electronics purists, we get this every now and then. People said, Josh, don't you need a resistor with your LEDs? And you're right. Technically, you do need a resistor. We actually have resistors built into the heads of our LEDs because your average 4th, 5th, 6th grade teacher doesn't know or care about that for doing especially the fun paper craft stuff. So we just have them built into the head, which takes away like one extra step from the students who don't really need or shouldn't care about resistors at that age level. You guys should put a resistor in as well. It'll just be a little dimmer, but they're built into the head of all our LEDs to make life better. One of the things that we do. But those are kind of the astronomy-esque things that we recommend doing with students as fun activities using paper circuit supplies. And we always put up more of these kind of templates all the time. Pete made those 3 Mother's Day things this week.
Yeah.
Andy made another Star Warsy thing, I think.
Oh, it's over here.
Oh, really?
Oh, we got that one.
This is another one that's on the table too. Yoda, the best mom. I have interesting people that work for me here. Oh, wait, there's Andy's one. Oh, Andy made a Mandalorian one if you want to get really Star Warsy, because May the 4th was yesterday. But we try to pump out a bunch of these things. But the nice thing is too, if you're getting those older kids, especially people share that with us, share some links there. Especially if you have older kids, if you're getting that 8th grade through high school, you can have the kids design their own circuits projects, their own arts and crafts circuits. So the art teacher I was working with was trying to do the parallel circuit. Her goal was to make a display and then have students make their own projects using a similar template, similar guide to what she was doing. So having those, especially older kids, design their own, that's where the extra learning goes into the aspect. It becomes a STEAM project. They design, they draw out their circuit, they do their artwork, and then they apply your circuitry to it. So you have a very nice collaboration between art and your science and your wonderful, wonderful classroom learning objectives for circuitry and all this fun stuff. And if you get anything, Pete's sharing some links in the thing. By the way,
He's going to be sending everything out, so he should.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Jordan will email links out as well to all these things, and like we're always putting more and more stuff out, like all the time. We're always ping-ponging between doing like microbit projects, paper circuit stuff, sewing stuff. We got a wide range of things that we do, so we're always putting out new various crazy projects. Like this was a Pete project one day. He just came to work one day with a wonderful, here's a knife switch template, because it's kind of silly. This is a good one to have in a classroom too. It's a good demo if you make a bigger one of this. My poor dog is just very sad. He's outside that door hearing us talk. He is the loneliest dog in the world at this exact moment, as most dogs are. So I think that's everything. We covered everything. It's 26 after, which means I would let him in, but he gets in touch. We have wires everywhere in our studio space. We have to keep him out because, yeah, he's a great dog. He's a great little Springer Spaniel, but there's too much stuff for him to knock over and cause a ruckus. So he's not allowed in either of the warehouse areas we have in the building here because small dogs. But anyway,
They really want to see it.
no, not this time. Maybe one day we'll have like a guest Chip the Springer Spaniel who will just come in and look very sad. So anywho, on that fun note, Jordan will share some links. These are some of the projects we have. Again, having the students design their own stuff, great, super awesome, especially the older kids, and for younger kids, making a fun light up card is just great. Engage at nascoeducation.com. We have some questions for Jordan. There's a couple different versions of the kits that we have through NASCO. We have some big classroom sets. If you're doing things in person, those are really affordable. You can do 40 projects out of that with a bunch of extra LEDs and tape left over. We have some smaller Here we go. Smaller versions. Here's a smaller version. Okay. And NASCO also has some really small distance learning versions as well for teachers who are teaching remotely, especially this summer. So, and also they have just the tape by itself, a la carte as well. And that tape is great if you already have materials, be it microbit through LEDs and motors and whatnot. It is the bee's knees. We use it for everything, just because it's just so darned handy for classroom use. And the fact it's strong, flexible, works on fabric for short-term wearables is great. So I think that's everything. Jordan, anything else to add out there in Jordan land?
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, everybody can hear poor old Chip. He can't come in though.
I'm sorry if you've been hearing a dog whine the entire time.
But no, that's okay. We wanted to thank everybody for joining us today. Thank you, Josh, for presenting, but also Pete for the tech assistance. My name is Jordan Nelson. I'm one of the customer engagement managers with NASCO. I was your host today. And like Josh and Pete were saying, if you have any questions at this time, feel free to ask them. Or if you want to chat a little bit live with us, feel free. Also want to reiterate a few things. If you're interested in ordering, you can check out some of those links that I sent out in the chat. Oh, they're playing Pong now. That's kind of funny. And there is a feedback survey after this that please make sure to fill that out too as well. We use that for feedback. We like to have a good time, as you can tell. And check out the different Mother's Day projects, space and astronomy projects that we also did. We'll be sending out those templates following this webinar. And then we'll also stay tuned in the future emails for other future webinars as well. We love to do that. And again, anything following up after this, you can definitely reach out to us at engage@nascoeducation.com. That's a direct email where we can respond to any further questions. Even if after this you say, wait a minute, I just did this project, I have a couple questions, feel free to email us. We're always there to help. So looking at the chat, I don't see any further questions, but thank you everybody for participating. Thanks for joining us today, and hopefully we'll see you next at our next episode. Take care, everyone.